Yo, Queen, I think it's time for a little cosmic motivation.
Cosmic motivation?
Cosmic motivation.
Cosmic motivation?
Cosmic motivation.
You know, unknown, you can't be faking when you be elevating, trying to make it in the most high station.
You can't be faking when you be elevating, trying to make it in the most high station. You can't be faking when you be elevating, trying to make it in the most high station. You can't be faking when you be elevating, trying to make it in the most high station. Cosmic motivation, make me rise above materialization. Cosmic motivation, make me rise above materialization. Got to keep elevating, ain't no time for hesitating. Got to keep elevating, ain't no time for hesitating. Gotta stay razor sharp with a mental edge, heart softened with the warm currents of divine love. This is the house of Atum, Allah, the eternal, everlasting, without beginning, and there is no end. That small kernel of divine light that must ascend when the body can no longer defend its existence with non-existence. From where we come to where we go, from black womb to dark void.
Hotep, how's everybody today? It is a beautiful day, at least where we're sitting. And this is Reverend Moot Shekamet Hetep Ma'ati, also known as Iyele Yetunde, especially to my two guests today. Now, if you've been listening to the station, you have been listening to the hot sounds of Unknown Poet and Queen. And people are always about, wow, the music is great. Who are they? Who are they? And I tell you, you have to actually experience them. I got to know them very well when I was in Philly. And we were just talking, and I was saying how there were so few folks who were the real deal. These two folks are the real deal. How y'all doing today?
Peace and respect, we're fine.
I'm doing great, Sister Love. I mean, is there somebody else in the room? You're talking so good about me. I gotta see whether is it me or not. Yeah, I'm feeling great. I feel good.
Yeah, yes, we feel blessed.
And good to see you after such a maybe 2 years.
Yeah, it's
since
been a minute, huh?
Yes,
You know?
it has been a minute.
Yeah, and I called Queen the other day and let her know that I popped up in Trenton, and I completely forgot that this is your spot.
Yes.
Yes.
You know how it came back to my remembrance actually, because some of our listeners probably know I'm a columnist for Nubian News. Okay. So
Brother
I've been
Kamal, yeah.
right. Okay, so I've been hanging down there with Brother Kamal, the Kamal and with the crew which tapes their TV show.
Yeah.
Brother Kamal had invited me to come down. So I'd been there a few times, and all of a sudden, this one brother says to the host of the show,
Sister
Hadia, yes,
Yeah, okay.
says, "When you bringing the oil man here?"
The oil man.
I said, "The oil man." He's like, "Yeah, the oil and incense man." I said, "Okay, wait, y'all got one oil man here in Trenton, one person who vends oils," and so then he said, "The one that does the spoken word." And that's when it all hit me. I was like, "Oh, you talking about unknown?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
you remembered us.
Yeah, I was like, I
remember.
forgot that you all were
Well,
here in Trenton,
Sister Iyele is, we've known each other, but you haven't known much about us other than our creative and poetry
Yes,
side, and
yes.
that we were very active in the struggle of our people. But the Unknown Poet and Queen has been doing the vending of oils and incense on the corner of Spring and Willow for the last 15 years.
15 years.
I mean,
Really?
we moved
Where
up
is
and
Spring?
down that street.
Where is Spring and Willow?
It's off of West State. Willow is off of West State.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And see, I've gotten to know Trenton mostly from the bus routes, okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't drive.
The 609 goes down West State.
I pass you all the time.
No, the
Yeah, but-
609
Because
goes,
I go. The 609 is what brings me to my house.
I know. So 609 goes down West State, and one of the stops is at Willow and West State.
But you have to walk down to us because we're more like in the hood type.
Oh,
thing.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
you riding around.
Right by the state garage.
Right, and
Okay.
and Spring Street is is infamous also for a lot of youthful activity and wayward youth. But
when we first came to Trenton, it was a beautiful place over
was very
25 years
beautiful.
ago.
Oh,
And-
yes.
Really?
But
Yes,
since
it was.
then, you know, drugs have infested, and the youth have become misguided, and the city government has not been really giving back to the community what our tax dollars have been asking for. So, you know, it's a lot more police, a lot more jails, but not enough for the youth to do. So Spring Street is one of those streets where it's always the police are there, the youth are on the corner in front of the stores, but we've managed to be like a haven, you know, because I set up 2 chessboards there. I've been having a
And the
standing group of chess players come out there.
Standing room only.
You
They
know.
constantly come
Alright.
out, and they come from all over.
Right now, we buy a little canal there. We got 3 trees there, and in the summertime, we underneath the trees. And
It's an oasis in the desert by the
All
lead of the
right,
Lord. Yes,
all right.
that's
And,
fine. Yes,
I
it
used
is.
to have the musicians come out there, a couple of djembe players and the sax player, and I used to have them playing, and I do the poetry and stuff out there. So I'm kind of known in the hood as the poet.
All
you know
right.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
I am the unknown poet. But if you ask for the poet in anywhere in that section, they'll know where to
Yeah,
send you
no.
at. And there's some people I'm known as the oil man.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yes.
we've been selling oils and incense and soap
And soaps and,
you know, black art and stuff like that for the last 15 years.
for the last
there.
15 years.
Y'all deal with black art too? I didn't know that.
Well, we used to go up and buy the I guess you would say these
Some of the frames.
some of the frames that you've had.
that we see.
It's not the original art; it's the prints.
Uh-huh,
You know, we used to
yeah.
go and buy them up
Yeah.
in Philadelphia and come down and sell them.
Okay, and you know that's important. In fact, I wrote an article
Yeah.
one time how
Yes.
it's really important for us to be able to have our images in our house. Go to the dollar store.
Right.
If you can't afford it, shoot. The dollar store has plenty of stuff
Yes.
right now. There's
Yes.
most of my stuff up on my walls is
Yes.
from the dollar
Yes.
store.
No, yes, you're right, and it's the art. It's you know, it represents
So we used
us.
to,
It's
sell-
very necessary.
It
Helps
is.
you
So
with that.
having affordable art is extremely important. It
Yes,
truly
it is.
And
You know?
it's in this. A lot of times, it's the image that you have around you that really build who you are, a sense of history,
Yes,
a
yes.
sense of your own beauty and worth.
Yes.
So we used to just go up there and just get the art and come through, because the image of taking down the images that were not reflecting us and putting up what reflects us,
Yes.
even if it wasn't the original. And a lot of the people that used to come and shop from us for this art couldn't afford the original anyway, but they just want to have this black
That's
art,
right.
this culture in their household. You know,
That's
And
right.
It's because it's very necessary. It represents us.
Now, I don't want to let this piece go about the fact that you speak with the so-called gang members, okay? Because we had talked about this a little bit before. I mean, Trenton right now is experiencing people look at it as a crisis because many of our youth have given themselves over to gangs. But you were saying, you know, you have
It was
conversations.
a crisis well, you said they look at it as a crisis. It was a crisis that was allowed to perpetuate because
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's
people,
very true.
Come on, our city fathers, they saw what's happening. You don't give people jobs. Look, come on, man. Let's be real. If a drug dealer thinks that he can listen, you tell him to go to Burger King. I'm being real. You tell him to go to Burger King and make $5 something an hour,
They gonna
and he
laugh at
figures
you.
he can stand on that corner and make $500 a day.
see the whole shame
Yeah.
of it is that
You know, they don't
we-
have any kind of work programs for the youth, any kind of apprentice programs. You understand?
Right, right.
I mean, that's stuff that's necessary.
And it's
If
a
you don't
shame.
do that, come on.
And this whole shame of it is that, you know, they could spend $1 million for MX missile and seem to have a replacement whenever they need some new ones. But yet, you know, whenever you say, well, how come there's no music programs, or how come there's no rec centers, or how come there's no chess clubs in the school, they say it's not enough money in the budget. You know what I mean? And the tax dollars are really being spent, you know, for things that are really not good for the populations of these inner cities. You know, so they left behind. And being that the Queen and I have been married, this is something else that a lot of people don't know about. The Queen and I have been married for 29 years.
Give
I
thanks.
would mention my age, but I'm afraid of age discrimination.
Don't,
I'm not going to mention my age.
don't.
I'm going to get vain. I'm going to get
Yes.
like a woman about that. I'm not going to mention how old I am. But I'm going to say that the Queen and I have 9 children. We have 6 sons and 3 daughters. And some of our sons, like we said, we never could get away from the inner city, even though we wanted to. We got kind of stuck here, so we made
Yes.
the best
Yeah.
out of a bad situation,
Yes.
which wasn't so bad at first. But a lot of our sons have come across trying to be initiated. A few of our sons have been initiated into these gangs, and
Is
they
that right?
refused. You know, they had to do a couple battles. I had to go to the street a couple of times and kind of talk to cats and you know, and because the unknown poet, was respected. Because a lot of these young cats, I watch them grow up. You know,
Yes,
because
a lot
I've been
of
out there
a lot of
for
made it
15
out of table.
years, and a lot of them are 20-something or 18 or whatever.
You fed a
but
lot
they
of
was
milk
kids.
queens.
Yeah, a
You
lot-
know what I mean?
a
And
lot
they
of them-
remember, oh, I know your son. I went to school with your son. I'm saying, well, listen here, let me
And
talk to
many
you
of
for
them
a
have
minute.
eaten at our table.
You know,
So,
so
you
I
know.
can. It's almost like we've got a reputation in the community where these cats, even though they're shooting at each other and killing each other, it's almost like they have a kind of reverential respect for the Queen and the Unknown Poet, and
By leaving the
we've
Lord.
earned that. They walk past and say, "How you doing, Queen?" and what's going on, Mr. Abdullah or Mr. Abu or Unknown Poet.
Yes.
You know, so I'm known by several names, but the essence remains the same.
All right.
That's right.
All right.
That's right, sis.
Well, speaking of your essence, your spoken word it's so refreshing, okay? Because of the fact that it's down to earth yet creative. The music that you select to go behind it when you record, oh man.
I got to mention Richard Tucker
We
of
have to
Rich
mention
Boy
Rich.
Music from
Yes.
Philadelphia.
Oh yes.
Is
Really?
Yeah, oh,
definitely
yes.
the master behind those the arrangement of the music. So.
Oh, the
That's
music
right.
is bad.
Yes.
And you just brought me your other CD. Okay,
Yes.
no, first let me mention the first CD that I have, which is Cosmic Motivation 2002.
Yes.
Okay.
The
And
Journey
then-
Begins.
The Journey Begins, right? And then this one, is that Top Project?
It says TUP Project
Oh,
2.
Top Project,
And,
okay. The Unknown Poet, TUP.
yes.
Project 2. Okay, Respect and Peace.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Unknown Poet and Queen. This is a lovely picture. Where'd y'all take this picture at?
Ah.
Right there.
Our little old ace in the desert.
Oh,
tree.
really?
Yes.
Right there
Yes.
at our stand.
All these flowers
in the-
around.
yeah,
Well, no, well, brother, he did the graphics on that.
Yeah,
Oh,
but-
okay.
But it was a tree
But
around
it was-
us, but
it
we
was
okay.
he wanted to
tree
he filled it in graphically with flowers and
yes,
he designed
yes.
the
Oh,
the
see, I
artwork
wouldn't
for
have
it.
known. Okay.
Yes, it looks like we're in a garden somewhere,
Doesn't
right?
it? Yes.
In the garden in the middle of the ghetto.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But you'd be surprised how how spaces, which you're not going to be surprised
No, you're
because
not
you know
surprised.
that.
You know.
You know how people and vibrations and human spirits can inhabit a space and make it
That's right.
peaceful, even though all around it
Might
may
be hell all around,
You know,
but-
I think
Right.
somebody just got shot down the street, or they might be. But when they come in this space,
right.
that's the Unknown Poet and Queen.
They
When
respect it. They
it's
respect
almost like people say, "Man, I'm glad y'all here, man," because every time I come here, it's just like this is like the eye in the storm,
That's
man.
right.
Y'all always got this peaceful here.
That's
the incense
beautiful.
is burning.
Yes.
We can smell your incense 2 blocks down the
See,
way.
The Lord
there
has
you
blessed
go.
us.
I mean,
The
so
Lord
we
really has
always
blessed
got.
us.
I said, well, maybe that's what God created before to
Yes.
make the neighborhood smell good or something.
Right? There you go. And then people look for that. People
Yeah.
really do, because a lot of times people don't know what they need to do in order to bring peace into their homes.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you have somebody in the neighborhood who is giving you an example,
Yes.
then it gives
Yes.
them something to think about. You
All
know?
Yes.
praises, and many times,
We need
I
examples.
wanted to run, from the hood, and if I could, I would go live in a better environment for my kids. But I feel I'm always attached to going back because we never really want to abandon.
And I
those
always
roots.
and I always tell him that Jonah couldn't run away from his mission.
Oh, how about it?
And you know,
Yes.
the Lord
Oh,
has
okay.
you.
Oh,
The Lord has you
wow.
for real, because the Lord has us here for a reason. It's necessary for us to be here right now. When it's time for us to go, the Lord will let us know,
And, you know,
it put
I mean,
everything right in
and it's the
perspective.
things that we see out there, being conscious and aware. You know, it's almost like sometimes I say, "Oh Lord, man, why'd you make me so aware and so knowledgeable?"
Yeah, yes,
Ignorance
yes.
is bliss. I understand that
You know,
term now.
like in the
Because-
Matrix, you know,
because you
the
know
blue
how
pill or the red pill, you know?
you know how things
You
could
know.
be and
Yes.
should be, and when you got a sense of history, you know how the Aboriginal people lived and how we were literally at peace in nature
Yes.
at one time, and that since the onslaught of the Caucasoid invasion upon the planets. Things have gotten kind of out of whack. Where there was no friction and war and a lot of
Where there once was balance, there's imbalance.
poverty,
Right.
and because
Yeah.
it's just
That's
a
right.
simple thing like this. There used to be a time in a village that the lesser or the weaker would eat with everybody. It would be 5 or 6 hunters that would go out, and if say it's 80 people in the village, they'd hunt. They'd bring back the hunt, and everybody from the village would eat from that hunt, from the king down to the lowest person who maybe didn't have the wherewithal to go out.
Right,
The
right.
orphans would eat. Everybody
Everybody
would
was
eat.
taken care of.
Everybody was taken care
Concerned.
of.
Yes,
If
right.
someone was getting married and needed a house, everybody in the village would get together and go to the forest and get whatever they needed and build a house for that
That's right.
individual.
That's
So nobody
right.
would be homeless.
We all took care
If
of
somebody
each other.
died in the war from disease, we would take in the orphans. It wouldn't be no DIFUS or nothing. We would do that. You know, so a lot of those natural aspects of our coming together as a community has been taken from us by big government and
That's right.
bureaucracy, and our people have kind of lost that.
A lot of us
And-
have come to think that that's the way it's supposed to be. The government's
Yes.
supposed to take care of us, you know?
Yes.
Well, if you don't know any better, that's if
That's
you've
right.
we've been conditioned to think that. I mean, we just following the course.
I mean, I see 15-year-old girls now in the Queen and I teaching gang signs. I just last
it.
week,
We went to
it
the
was
gas-
about a 15-year-old girl with a 3-year-old, I don't know whether it was she was 16, 16, whatever. She was young, you know what I mean? And she had a little baby about 4 years old. And the baby said, like this, Mommy, and he was doing his hands like making a gang. She said, no, like this.
What?
You know what I mean? And she was
She
really
thought- and she
actually
thought it was cute.
teaching him how
Oh,
to make a gang sound. And when he
no.
got it right, it's almost like she congratulated him. And I'm saying there was a time when mothers were teaching their children to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am,
That's right.
thank you.
Nurtured, we were nurturing them.
And now it's bad in the inner cities because a lot of young sisters that didn't get the proper upbringing, and brothers, you know what I mean? Because, and I mentioned the brothers, but a lot of them in jail. You know what I mean? They're out on the hood. They don't even play basketball no more. You know, the corners are where the activity is, and not the ball courts or
Only
the
thing they
rec
bouncing
centers.
up through their mouth is the 40 ounce or the Remy or the Alice Alice.
you know.
So, but
Young
then there
guys.
are some good stories that come out of
Oh,
the hood
yeah.
because there are some young men and
Yes.
young women who are trying and striving, but it takes a whole village. And the village, which happens to be run by a bureaucratic maze, you know, of complexities,
Yes.
you know what I mean, is kind of messed up right now. So
Yes.
we do our little part, and when people come and say, oh man, I'm so glad that y'all still here, man, y'all just bring life to the neighborhood, and just seeing y'all together, young couples come and say, man, seeing y'all together since I've been growing up makes me want to hang in there and
Really
keep my
hope.
relationship going.
Yeah,
And I said,
yeah.
okay, man, we serving a purpose.
Seeing that, everybody's supposed to do their part. You know,
Yeah,
if
yes.
everybody does their part, then
That's
it'll
right.
change
That's
things,
right. And no
you
matter
know?
how small it might seem, that
You-
what you're doing,
you have no idea.
it adds to the whole.
Right,
You know, it
right.
adds to the
Because
whole.
but that one life that you touch,
That's
you know,
right.
or
That's-
these 10 or 50 or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, the fact is that you have touched them. You
That's
have
right.
made
Yes.
a difference.
Yes.
You know.
You're
So
right.
I mean, I'm sure for all the young brothers who sat and ate at your table,
Oh, we've had a
They
lot.
were-
We've had a lot of them.
No doubt. She used to definitely, because, with 6 sons, I mean, and they were kind of like in stair steps. I
Yeah.
mean, they all had friends, and,
Yep.
sometime the house would be full with people with
Yep.
bowls of spaghetti from the porch to the.
yes. They guys come in from
Kitchen.
Right.
they come in from playing basketball, and my sons come in and they bringing the gang with them, and we hey,
that's beautiful.
because my mother had 10 children.
Yeah, she came from
My mother had 7 girls and 3
beautiful,
boys.
Beautiful lady.
And my mother,
God
my
bless her.
mother, she also was a Pisces.
All right.
Yes.
I don't,
Miss
but I want y'all to know,
Marguerite,
Queen is my Piscean sister. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and my mother, no matter what we had, believe me, and like I said, she had 10 children. If someone came to the door, and we looking silly, my mother would let them in, sit down and eat. And we looking, well, we don't have that much, Mom. Oh no, what are you talking about? God provided for you. Oh, hey, God sent them here. They had to eat.
Man, give me
No
that
matter
old
how,
time
no
religion.
matter
I
how
love
little
that.
it is or how big it is, they get a morsel of food.
That's
you know?
right.
And the Lord is most merciful. So
And
that's how I grew up.
Seems
So
that, sometimes I may talk to a cat in the hood who's trying to be tough, and I say, man, what I'm saying to you might sound corny, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we need to show a little bit more love for one another.
And
a
that's-
little
that's
bit more
on- that's
patience
on the real.
for one another.
It's necessary,
Are we
man.
too hot-headed?
Too quick.
And arguing and fussing and fighting over every little thing. We got to learn how to, just have love. You know what I mean?
You express an awful lot in your work, and I want to ask you about your creative process. I mean, with each of you, because you each write separately, right? You write. Do you write
know,
together also?
Most of what we do is write together. The Queen is a great influence. I am basically the poet and writer of our
yeah.
thing, but she influences so much that I might get into a middle of writing something, and I call her in, and then she adds so much to it that we end up writing it together.
All right.
Like, has anyone seen Nina Simone? You know what I mean?
That piece is hot.
I remember, yeah.
You
'cause
know, I remember. I mean,
'Cause
I started writing
we
out.
we grew up in Atlantic City, and
Yeah.
they was days what we write about, and I remember.
Yes. You know,
Man,
I just
the
was.
summer was.
Sometimes I wish I could return to being a kid. I see babies sometimes, we say, oh, look at that. They got a beautiful time. The time of innocence and no
Yes,
worries and no
yes.
stress. You know?
You know, it's something because I remember I remember when I was at another station, and that piece actually had the biggest impact, and yet it seems so simple, you know,
Yes.
because it was filled with such wonderful memories that a lot of us
Yes.
could relate to. In
And
fact,
he lived that.
another brother who was a poet, he was saying to me, I remember that piece was bad, you know.
Whenever we go and do any type of show, anything, that piece does get.
Yes, it really
you
does.
know, and sometimes we might just do it just with a flute and just us, you know, and
Our
a guy,
voices.
just brother, just
Yep.
playing the flute real beautifully behind it, and just
Yeah,
the
because-
words, it just works, you know.
Well, you know, we're talking about it. Why don't we let the audience hear it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember. All right.
Yes.
Ah, just look at that ocean, Queen. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when we was small, hanging out on the beach in AC.
Yeah, I know. I remember those carefree days and splashing in the ocean waves, long sandy beaches, and fresh Jersey peaches.
Ooh, sweet Jersey peaches.
I remember the sound of Motown.
Motown.
As I ran by the shoreline, I remember counting stars at night and falling asleep feeling everything is just right.
Just right.
I remember.
I remember.
I remember.
I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember.
I remember bright sunny days and clean fresh air, and how we children used to love to play. Mama's pleasant face, her warm and loving embrace. I remember the fresh Atlantic Ocean air, walking the beach and getting sand in my hair, feeling happy and free, and loving every part of being me, being me, being me. Red River, butterflies, grasshoppers, sticky balls on my clothes, my socks, my hair. Picking and eating strawberries, cherries, peaches, apples and grapes from everywhere. I remember. I remember. I remember.
I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember blue skies and sunshine, chasing butterflies over green fields, and wondering what's beyond that big brown hill. Grasshoppers jump as I run and run and run. Tons of fun under the golden sun. I remember when the morning air was crystal clear, and when we entered the night, we had no fear. The moonlit sky was near and dear, and when I laid down to sleep at night, the sound of a single cricket danced in my ear. I remember. 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 I remember.
I remember running in open fields, climbing trees, skinning my knees, jumping from the roof onto mattresses, having no fear. I just was happy because I was there, blowing in the cool spring air. I remember playing wall ball, kickball, dodgeball, baseball, bat and ball, balls of celebration in my childhood initiation. And I see red light, green light, freeze tag, kick the can, spin the bottle, double dutch, hopscotch. I remember. I remember.
I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember the sound of voices at the lake and the smell, the smell of chicken fried and baked. The sound of children as they played and swayed. No one would feel in gray on that day. In the sunshine we had it made. In the sunshine we had it made. I remember long sandy beaches and beautiful brown women with strong African features, multicolored hues on blue-green waters. I could have sworn that I once met Isis' daughter, but I was not quite the son of Osiris, so I had to observe this beautiful goddess only through the iris. But she was one of the finest that I had seen, and me not quite being 17, not quite ready for this African queen, floating on the sea of cool blue-green. I remember the scene, sunshine bouncing off a golden brown skin, hair glistening in the moist ocean wind, rays of light sparkle from within, and all I could do was grin and grin. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember.
I remember digging my toes in the hot sand trying to find a cool spot. Digging sand crabs down by the ocean. Being mesmerized by the waves of emotion. Flowing on the tide of the ocean. Children playing by the shoreline. And I'm happy, smiling, feeling fine. Running in the wind of the blue skies and sunshine. I remember concern and caring neighbors. Everybody was your mother and father. Loving, caring, sharing. Aunt Pearl's was like another world. Picnics, Lake Lenape, Lake Absegami, swimming, volleyball. I recall. Big ant hills, butterflies galore, rainbows leading to heaven's door, colors vibrating to deep blue skies, me floating on a natural high. Red, yellow, purple reflections, in them no imperfections. Kaleidoscope eyes, do realize how life flies in a short passage of time. In the sunshine, we had it made. In the sunshine, we had it made. Sometimes the memory seems to fade. You know, they say we in the last days.
But for our memories,
we thankfully pray. I remember.
I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember. I remember.
That was I Remember from Unknown Poet and Queen.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. It's funny the imagery that goes along with it. You know, because there's usually some place in there that you get swept up in it because you remember so many good things from when you were a child. You know, and I guess I don't know if it speaks to how much things have changed overall. If it's because of environment, if it's because of the fact that we've gotten older, our perspective has changed. What do you think?
Ooh, that's it. You know, I remember being young and your older people telling you, y'all kids, I just don't understand y'all. You know what I mean? We didn't do that when we were in there. You're talking back in the 60s and maybe late 50s, but I'm saying, here I am now, and I'm saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. But, and it's part, is it nature or nurture? That's this eternal question. You know, what came first, the egg or the chicken? Mm-hmm. The thing is that things have changed. And things are continually changing in this society we live in. Children spend more time in front of television, PlayStations, and they don't play outside as much. It's not as safe, I have to admit. When we were coming up, the whole neighborhood watched you.
Yes.
The mother around the corner watched you. Boy, what you doing around this way? I'm gonna tell your mother on you.
Every
Right,
neighbor
right.
was your mother and your
That's
father.
right.
And
So,
that's right.
And the neighborhoods were more stable. It wasn't as much drugs. It wasn't a crack epidemic. And the youth weren't hanging out on the corners, man. They was going to gyms and playing basketball and after school programs and coming straight home from school and doing homework and might have been a few people that went astray, but basically the community 30, 40 or so years ago was a little bit more intact and more self-sufficient in terms of raising its children.
And it was really communities. And, the
Now,
concern was there.
you know what's unusual? Now, there are a lot of children on this street. Just take a moment and listen. Do you hear anything other than cars occasionally driving by?
And this is a Saturday afternoon.
on a Saturday
You know what I mean?
afternoon.
We would be out and about, laughing, playing, throwing a ball.
Playing dodgeball.
Don't get me wrong, I
Marbles.
appreciate the quiet, but
Yes.
but I tell you the thing that really made me start thinking. There were a couple of days where I walked back and forth to the store, and they were hot days, Nobody was outside. I was like, man, when I was a kid, we'd be outside, whether it was really hot or whatever, because we had a chance to go outside,
Yes.
I mean, you could roll a bowling ball down the street and you wouldn't hit nobody. It is
funny.
that quiet down here.
And it's amazing because, like I said, even as short as maybe 5 or 10 years ago, if I rode around Trenton to the basketball courts, they would be full.
Oh, they would be packed.
on a Saturday morning or afternoon,
That's
or
right.
sometime evening. With youth or and brothers that are a little older playing ball, waiting for
right.
another game.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But you can ride around Trenton now these days, or any of these inner cities. But I'm just going to deal with Trenton, New Jersey, where we're residing, and you do not see the ball courts. You don't see them activated. They're not playing ball. But if you go to a corner, or a stoop, or the candy store, where the drug activity is happening and the whole thug mentality is being nurtured, you see mounds and mounds of youth, with white T-shirts on and colored flags and howling and talking loud and saying nothing. So is it the society's fault? Is it the government's fault? Is it the bureaucracy's fault? Yes, it's part that fault. Yes. Because that's part of the village we live in.
But it's part of our fault also.
Yeah.
We can't forget that also.
Yes. So I guess.
You were sharing some really interesting things unknown about your coming up, because I mentioned to you about how I had interviewed Brother Abiodun Oyewole of the Last Poets,
Yes.
and I know y'all have been
Yes.
up there and hung out and
Yeah,
had his
yes.
salmon cakes and
Yeah,
all
we-
that.
Oh
too,
yes,
you know?
yes. And
Yes.
he
And
played on the piano for us.
Oh,
and
really?
Oh
We
yes.
sang
Oh,
a song up there for him, and he thought it was a pretty nice jazz piece we sang for him.
Yeah.
And we had a nice time up there with
Yeah.
Abby, what I mean?
Yes.
But you remember, speaking, I remember
he's a Pisces too.
you. I know this, but Abiodun's another Pisces. All right, we holding it down.
Another sensitive soul.
That's
Yes.
right,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
So, but you were saying you remember in your youth going to check them out in those days.
Right. I mean, when, this 67, 68, 69, I've seen them several times in my growth, but that was the first I experienced seeing live, street poetry, with the drum, with the congas, and with the brother spitting it, what I mean? And kind of like, not just one poet just kind of spitting it nice, but, three cats, man, one after another,
Yeah.
and brothers doing background sounds and like trains, and what I mean? And talking about what was going on in Harlem at the time.
That's right.
And, the poverty and also taking shots at the system, at Big Brother, what I mean? So the Last Poets were very popular in Harlem before the world knew them,
Yes,
and like I said, when I moved up to New York and up in the Bronx, and I went to deal with Clinton High School, what brought me to Harlem was my mother-in-law used to take me down to 125th Street and let me see the culture. We used to go past the big bookstore there, the famous bookstore there, and then I met some brothers that went to Black Panther Party. They took me down, and I started going to political education class, and I met certain people like Zayd Malik Shakur and Assata Shakur, was Joanne Chesimard at the time, and I hung out with Zayd, and he took me underneath his wing, and we used to go to a lot of cultural affairs, man. I mean, he was my educator. He was the Minister of Information of that branch of the Black Panther Party, and that's when I first experienced the Last Poets, by going to an affair with him. And then I got introduced to the East Wind on 125th Street. And I was just a little guy, a little young cat, man, just amazed and just open up, man, to the world of consciousness. You know, you know.
But to be able to say that you experienced all that is really quite something. I'm sure there are days you probably sit back and look at all the different things that y'all have gone through and like, wow,
Yeah.
we lived through that, or we touched that part of history, you know?
And I'm almost afraid to speak on it. And I can't speak on it to many people because you know some of them are so young they wouldn't even understand that experience.
Sure.
But you know, I grew up in a time when I was influenced by the poetry of Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
I refused to go to the Vietnam War because Muhammad Ali said, "Hell no, I ain't going. Ain't no Vietnamese ever called me no nigga." You know what I mean? And he was willing to throw away his whole career and
That's right,
go
for
to
what
the
he
penal
believes in.
system for. So
That's right.
he influenced me and a lot of other guys of our generation. So I grew up in that period. I remember when Martin Luther King was killed in '68. You know what I mean? I remember the riots. I remember, you know what I mean? And I was out in front of 100 Center Street as a young cadre of the Black Panther Party when Afeni Shakur and the Panther 21 were in there saying, "Free the Panther 21, power to the people." Now, most people, while I say that too, it's almost like, did I live it? Can I really say that? I mean, you know, did I just imagine it? But it happens because I have relatives and that remember those days. And so, and God bless Zayd Malik Shakur, who was, you know, killed unjustly on the highway of New Jersey, and keep Assata Shakur safe.
We have a very unique voice as artists, I feel anyway, here in the so-called Garden State. I mean, and maybe I'm a little bit prejudiced because of the fact that I'm a Jersey girl, okay? But I don't know if that's something that you've observed, you know? I mean, that there is, there's a certain rhythm, there's a certain way to a lot of people in their artistic expression from the Jersey, if you will, community. I mean, that's been my observation. I'll put it this way, because, you know, I lived in Philly for 2 years. And as soon as I crossed back over the line, well, actually, some people, I told people I came scrambling back over the wall.
Escape from
Let me back in.
Escape from Philly, huh? Escape from PA, all right.
You just needed a change. You know,
that's
that's
it.
all.
That's all.
But still, when I started working with, even when I was working with the children here, it was such a familiar vibe.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you back home.
And
Right.
Okay.
you know, I mean, there are subtle differences, but they're there. You know,
Right.
even in okay, like I was watching that train wreck of a show with Bobby and Whitney. I don't know if you saw any of it. It's a shame, but I understood the vibe.
This is he who has understanding.
Yeah.
We have to understand the vibe because
Yes.
that makes us empathize and see from a more objective,
A broader
view.
view. Yeah.
We got to see that Whitney
Yes.
showing up is from Newark, okay?
Yes, yes,
I, was like,
yes,
I know
she
that
is.
Newark vibe, okay?
Yes,
Well, you know, she was probably trying to change her life, and I guess Bobby kind of, brought an excitement and just when you're up there in this showbiz life and you're surrounded by a lot of phony people and phony circumstances, and you sometimes got to be who you don't want to be. You got to look in the mirror and smack yourself and say "Showtime," and and then you meet some guy that's kind of just raw dog, kind of
down to earth, right? Real.
I mean, he's putting a little bit more realness back into me, but then you go from one end to the next end, and you're
Extreme.
really just trying to find the balance.
Balance is very necessary.
And somewhere along the line, I told the Queen, I said, Whitney and Bobby going to find that balance. I said, because he's my Aquarian brother, and I'm Aquarius. And
Is
I
he
know
an
that-
Aquarius?
Yeah,
I
and
didn't know he was
we
an
can
Aquarius.
we can be an extremist, you know what I mean, in good and bad. So I say that, I can see love there and devotion,
yeah.
and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of good stuff.
You absolutely
yeah,
can.
because
With those
listen.
two against the world, us against the world. But I see the Romeo Juliet thing going on there,
Yeah.
But I'm saying that somewhere along the line, those two cats, God willing, going to emerge and make everybody proud of them and say, hey man, they've been there and they went through it, and look at them now.
That's
Yeah,
right.
because the reality is Whitney picked Bobby.
She did.
You understand? I mean, nobody thought they would be together, and nobody wanted them together, and they had the odds on when they thought it was gonna fail, but she picked them. And you know how we are when we are women, when we set our sights
Right.
on something.
And
Like I tell unknown, I picked him. I had saw him on it was a real foggy day, and I was in the car with someone else. Matter of fact, and no, seriously, it was like a London fog, right? And he was like the sun coming through the fog. He
Oh,
looked
wow.
bright. It was like a halo around him. And I told him,
I was in the Nation of Islam.
and I told
was
him, I said, I picked you. You know, he didn't understand right then and there, but he understands now.
Well, 29 years. I
Yes,
mean, that
yeah.
really that
Yeah.
that
So
is
it's like-
more than commendable.
Always the blessing and mercy from the Lord.
You got some marriages don't last 29 days.
Yeah.
You right, you right,
You know?
sis. You right,
Not
you right.
nowadays.
So what has held you together all these
The
years?
commitment,
Yeah.
Well,
the
you
commitment,
know,
the desire to be there. You know, working at it.
she just was perfect. You know, I mean, I was, you know, I had my days. I got it honest from my dad. I mean, I
Yes.
spent my days being a lover boy.
He was a Don Juan
Uh-oh.
from way back when.
Uh-oh.
That's when I was had on my teeth.
You know.
But anyway,
I got a few dental stories of my own, you know.
but
You
yeah,
ain't said nothing but a word. It's
but,
all right. It's
but
all
you know,
right.
you know, being that she comes from a mother who's such a devoted and beautiful woman, personality wise,
And she was a Pisces.
and a lover of human beings, and she had a little bit of that in her. So you know, coming across the Queen was like a refreshing oasis, man, in a storm of emotional drama that I was going through with.
And matter of fact, he was talking to when we got together. He was talking to
I was ready for a wife.
four of the girls. And matter of fact, he was talking to my sister.
Oh no.
He was talking to my sister, you know. But my sister, she was Miss Fast.
I was talking all this consciousness.
You
You
know,
I was kind of conscious at the time.
yeah,
in Nation
yeah.
Islam. I was on my diet and
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get the sister to become a Muslim
yeah.
with me, and
Yeah.
a lot of sisters was looking at me like,
Like he was
"Oh,
crazy.
I'm
I mean, that's
change
just. Oh, but I, you know.
I was reading. I think at that time I was reading
Khalil
Dick
Brown.
Gregory. No, Dick.
Oh.
Well, Khalil Brown was
Oh,
always
yeah.
in the picture,
Yeah.
but Dick Gregory's book, How to Eat, Cooking with Mother Nature's Kitchen.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
was
right.
reading that, and I was giving out copies of that to everybody. and
I ain't
they-
heard that title in a minute.
Yes, yes.
But you
All right.
remember that title?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
You know,
yeah.
it might have been my first health book,
All
but
right.
yeah, I read that and read the story of Dick Gregory, how he came through all his
Yep.
drinking and bad eating,
Yep.
and it was very inspiring, and it helped me along to change my diet. And I was kind of pushing that on everybody, and it was kind of like I was fanatical with it at the time because I believed in it, and you know, bugged a lot of sisters. But this was and I was doing poetry too. I always was a poet. I always
Yeah.
kept that with me from them early days of coming to being out with the last poets at the East Wind and being inspired with that.
Yeah.
And also Zayd Malik Shakur was a poet also. So, but anyway, I read poetry to her and she liked it. I recited poetry to her. I gave her the book. She read it. I told her about going home, cooking a meal, invite me over. When I came over, she cooked the meal. The brown rice was right, the beans was right. You know, and,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, well, this is the one. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean? And I bought her outfit, and it was cultural. And I always wanted a sister that was cultural because I got influenced by a sister who really raised me spiritually as a younger cat in New York named Lady Helena Walquea.
That's
She's
right.
presently in California now, and she happens to be
Bevereen's sister.
Bevereen's sister, and she lives with Bevereen, Helena Walquea. But she gave me my first spiritual book on At the Foot of the Master by Yogananda Paramahansa, I believe it was.
Yes, right.
And
That's
that was
right.
before I even joined the Nation of Islam. But that set all that up. I had spent time with a goddess with the head wrap and the
Yeah.
dignity, was a dancer, and the incense and the whole prayer room and the whole thing. And I was like, 19 years old or something, and she was older. But she brought me in, and I used to listen to Nina Simone and what's the other brother that I used to listen to that scattered like Al Jarreau.
Oh,
We sing about him in the song. Nina kept it real.
oh, John Ducian.
John Lucian.
Oh,
John
okay.
Lucian.
John Lucian.
John,
Okay.
Forgive me. John
John
Lucian.
Lucian. Yes,
So
yes.
he scattered, scattered those beautiful scats and
Oh, beautiful. I
and
never felt
the
so
candlelight.
beautiful.
And I
Yes.
wrote a song about her, and it's on
The moment.
the second CD, and it's called The Moment. So whenever you hear this song called The Moment, is dedicated to the first goddess queen that was that the unknown poet got introduced to in my life.
All right.
And she influenced me greatly. And she was like the prototype. So when every sister I was talking to, I was trying to get her to be this goddess queen and, wear this and get yourself together. You got a fast sister. And all the sisters thought I just was nuts. She's the only one that thought I wasn't crazy.
So I'm sure that Queen superseded the goddess.
Yeah. Well, this queen definitely has been around for 29 years.
She
and we
said,
do
"Goddess,
each
I
other.
got something for you."
But her and the goddess have spoken.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
goddess is because she's a goddess and because she's that elevated soul,
True.
she understands life's processes.
Okay.
And because Queen is there too, it's all civilized and beautiful.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I
Of
still
course.
have an affectionate relationship with Lady Helena Walquea.
Yes.
And like I said, when you hear the song, "There Is a Lady," the moment, then you'll understand what it means.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, you had mentioned a little piece back about street poetry.
Yes.
What is that? Because a lot of folks don't know.
Well, basically, it's your experiences that you have in the hood, in the neighborhood, in the community. And this tradition, it goes all the way back to the Harlem Renaissance and even beyond. I mean, taking your art, your words, your vibe directly to the people without no intermediary. You don't need to be in no big theater, with lights and be a famous person to do your art and your craft.
It even goes back to the griots in Africa.
It goes all the way
You
back.
know,
Talk
the
about
first
it.
version, the first ones.
Yes.
Oh.
When you just had a brother or a sister who
Record the
just
history.
had something to say, or
That's
just
right.
happened to be initiated into the ancient art of preserving history and keeping the tribe kind of straight on
That's right.
on things they might have forgot about, or
That's right.
remembering
That's right.
the dates or whatever, or
right.
just giving inspiration.
That's right.
When the tribe might be going through some famine or trouble, and just the inspired words of a poet. So, taking it to the hood is like anywhere you are. Like sometimes I might just be out there and just cats be playing chess or something, and might be 10 cats out there, and I just might start spitting something about life. You know what I mean? I might see a sister that's on crack, and I've seen her, and I might say, man, that sister used to be pretty,
Yeah.
man. And,
Isn't that sad
and then I
to
might
see?
say,
Isn't that
once
sad?
I go into something like, once pretty sisters crack to the bone, the darkness of the late
right.
hours where she calls home, fiends in the night doing things for things, a once tender heart that no longer sings. Children cry for a mother who no longer hears. Her eyes are dry because she has no more tears. And the brother say, oh yeah, man, that's nice, man, do something else. And I just start kicking it, and it be right off the inspiration of the moment of seeing the sister who I might have seen 10, 15 years ago, and she was pretty at weight up
10,
and everything.
15 years, 5 years ago.
And you
That's
see
how
what
quick it
this
is.
drug has done to her, and it's like, oh man, I'm gonna speak on that, and
That's right.
and rap is the same thing where you come right out of the hood, what I mean. It's just that brothers and got stuck on stupid. With the gangster thing, like it's like they can't take it nowhere else, or maybe progress from there. It's,
Or a lot of strong sexual themes.
yes,
Oh.
yes. So, but like I said, it's all out of that tradition of the ancient griot that goes back to those who had been blessed by the Most High,
keepers of the
to be
word.
the keepers of the word and
That's
the keepers
right.
of the culture,
That's
and
right.
and be able to verbalize this, because we know that the oral came before the written. So
That's
the
right.
oral tradition is much longer on the planet Earth,
That's right.
and it will probably last longer than the written when all pages and books.
That's right.
That's
burn
right,
up.
because it comes from here to
You know.
there. That's right.
Because paper can go away, computers can go
That's
away,
right.
Yes.
but
Yes.
what will hold the tradition down?
That's
Yes.
What we continue to share.
That's
Yes,
right. That's right.
yes. So that's what
And we
street
pass
poetry
it
is,
on.
just sharing,
That's right.
sharing with your people in the hood. They're not paying for it. You're not getting any fame from it. It's just that something needs to be said, and somebody got to say it. You know what I mean? And I might see some cat brother might come out there and say, man, I've been down to the state building trying to get my license or do this, and they getting caught up in the maze of the bureaucracy and so forth and so on, and you see this time and time again, or the court system is dogging them, or something happened where they can't get their money, or they got fired. It's always a story, 1,001 million stories
That's right.
out here about
right.
people who come up against the big ominous amalgam, called the state apparatus. So, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching is the sound of the ring of the change that changes hands in the land of liberty.
Come on now.
But how many had to die, you see, to bleed, to feed the greed of a materialistic vulture feeding off the dead but living corpse of our mental misery? What is this cage that subdues my rage as I enter this stage in the last days? Wondering and wandering and wandering and wondering, is the world gonna be a better place for the human race as we dissipate in the midst of social synthesis, caught up in the dialectic of a new age politics, quick with the quip to put a spin on the lies of what really lies inside of those who run this situation? Yeah, I said situation. And they be faking like they be caring about you and me and the betterment of society. You know what? If it ain't about money, no need to apply, you see. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching is the sound of the ring, of the change that changes hands in the land of liberty. Brought on by that quest for more luxury, so-called finery and designery, obscuring the landscape of the mind, you see. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching is the sound of the ring, of the change that trains the mind to be obsessed with that materialistic climb. Soul descending in the abyss of time, very detached from the divine mind. Third eye getting very blind, health slowly on decline, working harder for that extra dime. A mule, a donkey on the assembly line, clocking time in the land of the blind. We better wake up soon and find that divine mind, because the world is losing time in that 9-to-5 grind. And Big Brother, he ain't hard to find. In 1984, in 1994, in 2004. Do we need to hear more? In 1984, in 1994, in 2004. Do we need to hear more? We will. If you don't, we will.
Ashe. Ashe.
So that's the stuff that gets inspired by the unknown poet and queen. But the unknown poet gets inspired by the circumstances of my people. And it just be, I mean, all my poetry's been written right out that corner. I mean, when you hear it on this CD or both of these CDs, it's 15 years of just being in the hood, man, and living in the society of America.
That's right.
You two are so electric when you perform.
All praise.
I mean, I remember the first time we met. That's when we were performing over at Soul Speak.
Soul Speak. Yeah.
Right,
The
right.
Now, yeah, the Now. Yeah.
And here's what really impressed me, because the next time I saw y'all, and it was over October Gallery. Every time when I've seen you all perform, first of all, people are like, "Unknown and Queen here," you know. There's that
Pretty,
excitement, okay?
Oh, man, thank God.
Then-
keep us humble.
Then
Yes.
y'all get up and just take the joint out. Just take it out.
And you know what it is. It's like it's our journey of life. You know how it says that in the beginning. What was it? It was the one soul, and from the one soul became two souls. You know, and what it is by us being together, we're back together as one soul. You know, it's like that click
Right,
click.
right.
It's a single heart. You know, you know, that's what it is with us.
Well, you know, Unknown talked about what you did for him, but what does he do for you?
I don't know. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I don't know. Let me see. I was born between the Ace of Clubs and the Queen of Clubs. I spent some time on the beach, on the boardwalk, and in the streets. I traveled from here to there, from time to time, until I met my perfect rhyme. You see, the unknown poet and I have been traveling for a while. We've been reciting and singing this poetry in true jazz style. We've traveled from New York to Philly and back again until we made that perfect blend. Peace, I'm Queen. People ask me my name, and I say Queen. They say, well, what is your real name? And I say Queen. And I tell them that my king named me Queen. And what does it mean to be Queen? Q-U-E-E-N. The Q in Queen means quiet, quintessential, quaint. The U in Queen means universal, understanding, unified. The double E's in Queen mean equitable, even-handed, efficient, effective. In my heart, my core, my bones, elevated, elegant, expressive. In my form, my style, my tone. The N in Queen means nice, natural, nurturing. Add the Q to the U to the E to the N. What you have is Queen, a God-sent woman, a compliment to the God-sent man. King and Queen, Queen and King, gliding across the universal scene, not trying to be too mean. No unnecessary drama, you see. No opposition to harmony. Peace and love and peace abides, provides, and decides our course in this cosmic journey, you see. And that's what he means to me. We've been on a journey, you understand? We've been on a journey, and
Man,
and it's like I said,
Yeah.
He was talking to my sister, you know, and at the time a lot of guys was talking to my sister. And my sister always, she had guys where she would put in categories, you know. Well, this is
She's a Virgo.
She's a Virgo. This,
Very analytical. She analyzes
She
herself
would
out
put them in
of all
categories, you know.
these.
Well, this brother is my my revolutionary brother. This brother is my health brother. This is my brother to go up to the marches with him. No, seriously, that's how she was.
Yeah.
And she was relegating him to that. But him
I
being
just was the-
him being the Christ, he wasn't letting her relegate him to that. And like he said, you know, he was sitting at the table, he was talking with her, and just as quick as he was talking to her, she left and she went to dance with someone else.
Ooh.
And so I'm sitting at the table, and he's sitting. So we just started talking, and like he said, he read me his poetry, and you know, and I've been hooked ever since. and I said, where you know, the creator said he created one soul, and from that one soul became many. To you know, we're back together as one soul. You know, it's you know, we're both we're each a side of the coin. You know, and that's how the Lord has us together. You know,
And,
it's the harmony. You
And
know.
a footnote to that meeting with me and the Queen is that I think that was in October.
No, we're not telling you what year it was.
That was a Halloween.
we were at a
and
Halloween
I
party.
was a straight up FOI, you know.
And
had
I was
my
dressed
suit
as
on
an
with
ace
my
of
group
clubs.
cat.
I was ace of
She had
spades.
on a Halloween outfit.
I was dressed as the ace of spades.
All four of her sisters.
My other sisters one was dressed as the ace
They
of
had
hearts, and
black
one was
leotards
a
on.
black leotard, and we had
She was the ace of
spades. Yep. No.
And all three of her sisters. One was the ace of hearts, ace of
clubs,
diamonds,
and
clubs.
that's right.
And they just looked so cute with the black leotards on. They had cut out the cards and made
Yep.
the faces.
Had ace. Yeah, you
And,
know.
I'm just straight up brother, just sitting here trying to find a wife and drinking orange juice because I wasn't drinking.
That was during the disco times, believe me. Hey, we were partying. We was at the Harbor Lights in Brigantine.
I took the ace of clubs, right?
Ace of spades.
The ace of spades. I took the ace of spades out to, I guess it was like a little dock area there.
Yeah,
it
'cause
was
we
a
was
nice
at the
little
harbor.
place, harbor.
Yeah.
And I sat the ace of spades down and
Read me
and
success. Recited some poetry.
and told her straight up, like, that's in the straightest FOI voice you can give. Sister, I'm looking for a wife. Are you ready? Straight to the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And-
she-
Ain't no window dressing.
No, and one thing I have to say, one thing I have to say. You could love the unknown poet, you could hate the unknown poet, but the unknown poet is a real person. He's a straight up brother, you know, and believe me, that's one of the things I love about him. He's honest, you know. It might hurt you sometimes, you know how those chorus be kind of straightforward, and you know you wish they would put a little chaser on it, but no, but he's a like I said, he's a straight up brother, and I love that about him. I really do. I can say he's not a liar. You know what I mean? You know, and you wish he would code it a little.
There are enough people out there in the world who will do that for you.
Yeah, I
and
know,
you
yeah,
don't
I
know who's
know.
for real. Like you were talking about
Yeah.
how if you're in show business, you have a whole lot of people who come
Yeah.
sliding up to you and want to be hangers on, but
yeah.
you don't. It takes you a minute sometimes to figure out
Yes.
who's for real and
And
who's
as
not.
you
You know.
rise in that profession, and you know, like I said, the Queen and I intend on trying to make some money in I don't like to say entertainments in the arts. You know, what I mean. I don't even like to call myself an entertainer. Some people
No.
want to say, no, I'm
An artist.
I'm an artist.
That's a
You know
fact.
what I mean? And I'm going to treat it like an art. And if some residual effects come from it, that would be all good for us. We can do more for our family and help the people that we would love to help.
Yeah, what about all these people out here right now who are making a lot of money and ain't really saying a whole lot of stuff?
But you said they're not saying a lot of stuff, but they're saying what the quote unquote the society wants to hear. You
that's
know,
true.
like I said, they
Doesn't
like
mean
Well,
substantial, but, you know.
I
somebody
want
wants
to
to.
correct you on it, saying what the society wants to hear. It's not so much what the society, us people want to hear. It's
You're right.
what the bureaucrats and
You know, that's where it
and
really
You're
is.
right, you're
those
right.
who want to manipulate.
I
And
stand
it's
corrected.
being
You're right.
fed
to
You're right.
people.
That's
so
right.
we
You're
want to
right.
get that
And
correct.
You're right.
You know,
You know,
people
right.
believe that's what they want.
Yes,
right, that's
and,
right.
And then they make people believe that's what they want to hear.
That's right,
You know, like
that's right.
as if the children want to hear all the thug,
That's right,
cussing, rap,
you're right.
killing that's going on. Now that's a constant mantra of brainwashing, of negativity that constantly coming across the airwaves of the
right.
mass media.
That's right.
That really is plays an integral part in how our children are acting and
Yeah,
reacting
you're right.
today.
You're right.
You know, in terms of the art, the artistry of being a poet and spoken word artist, you know, the three of us had an in-depth conversation one time about what's going on in terms of slam and all that. And I haven't been part of any slam competitions because it just really didn't intrigue me. But and you sealed it for me because you told me about the one or two that you went to, and you basically was like, "This ain't my vibe."
Right.
You know,
Everybody's
because
getting hype. They
Yeah.
want to hit the mic.
And I've slammed some against some of the best, Tyler
Yeah.
Nacy and some of them cats that won, Noricans and all that, and won by percentages of points. But like I said, I just didn't like the feeling. Because I said I went in the bathroom and I'm sweating and the other cats and I went in the bathroom, some cats in the stall in there, and you're not enjoying a poetry event. You just can't wait to get
You
out
want to
there
get up there and give you a version of it.
You're not
Yeah.
even hearing what the other guys say.
No.
So the competition becomes very fierce. And the art gets
Shark-like.
lost. The art gets lost to me.
It does.
You know?
well, isn't it supposed to be that your art is supposed to be a form of expression of what it is that you see or what you feel, as opposed to what you think is going to get you over? I mean, that was one thing that you would express
Right.
extremely
Yes.
strongly about the fact
Yes.
that a lot of, and I mentioned this to Brother Abiodun Oyewole about artists. Well, no, let me strike that, because we're not talking about artistry here, but people who compete in the slam competitions, because not all of them are artists. There are some who are, but
Right.
a lot of them use cram techniques about
Yes.
the subject of the day or
Yes.
whatever makes it's going to make them sound like they're a lot deeper than they are
Yes.
in order to win.
Yes.
Well, it's
Speak
a
on
business.
that.
Yes.
Well, it's a business. The slam industry is a big business. You know, and that's what's being pushed right now. So
They just it's almost like a slam poetry has a certain tempo to it and a certain
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
certain level of delivery that has to be maintained all the time. So you lose your sincerity. And I like to believe that everything that I write comes out of my life experience and what means something to me. And in a way, kind of giving that back to the people. Whereas a person who just wants to operate on just winning slams may not have a lot of life experience. They might write about black culture, but they may not really be that much into black culture. You know what I mean?
but they can go
Yeah.
to they can go to the library and they can find a lot of books about black culture and memorize it and then put it in poetic form and
Might use comedic terms and may use
Whatever is
historical
necessary.
things that basically they're not really living it or teaching or sharing on any other level,
Or even
with
relate
people.
to.
yeah, you're right.
Sometimes,
You're
yeah.
right. You're right.
That's right.
It's completely foreign to
It's a
them.
business.
Some cats who ain't even can't hard time to even keep one woman is the great lover on the mic with these sexual words and all the ways he could please a woman. But every time I see this cat come to the joint, he's by himself.
You don't know?
Yeah. He's
You know
alone.
what I mean? But, you know what I mean? But he can get real graphic, man.
Yeah, he wants you to sit your body on his face. And
Yeah,
then
he can,
his face will be your
rotate, you know,
throne.
my face is your throne and all.
Oh, Lord.
You know,
And they
that's
just
crazy.
go off and on and
Yeah.
and I love love, man. I mean, love is good. It's a feeling and an emotion and a thing that brings it's the stuff of life and human beings coming together and living with one another. And to admire a woman and to talk about her in a dignified way, and putting a veil sometimes on the graphic.
True.
But it's known by those who mature to know what you're saying. But to just take all the veil away and just lay it right out there bare, it gets to be
Lust
almost
and-
like pornography or
It is.
double X rated poetry.
It
right?
is. It
You know
is.
what I mean?
If you both were to do a video, okay, you had the creative input from start to finish. First, what would be your first pick as far as your song? And then what would we see?
Born in the City. I think Born in the City.
I can see it every time I hear it too.
Born in the City, because I think that's
It talks about they're up bringing in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Born- Born in the City.
Yeah,
I-
and that song actually comes
I
from
see
a
being
poem
on the boardwalk. You know.
that the unknown poet that I wrote.
Yep.
It's concerning somebody growing up in AC, and I was born and raised between AC and NYC. This is where this song comes from. I spent some time down in northern Florida, and I've been traveling up and down the Northeast Corridor. Now I lay my head down in T-Town and I'm vibing tough in P-Town, hanging around with progressive poets and banging jazz bands. You know what? Sometimes I think that Renaissance feeling's on the move again. I was born in that city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. These were those days before I could see, when I was chasing the dreams of another reality. When I was coming up, it was called Playground of the World. The beaches in the summer heat were full of plenty of pretty girls. The summer nights were fast and hot, and every little hole in the wall bar was considered a player spot. You know, I can still see images of times going by, being taught by my father how to dress and talk fly, play the ladies and get by, run from reality, escape into a player's fantasy. I grew up Little Rossi, son of Big Rossi, Little Rex, son of Big Rex, grandson of Pop Haynes of gambling fame. All those old timers know that name. And I ain't pushing past y'all no phony game, cause I ain't trying to push up on no bogus fame. I grew up with men who took on names like Cocaine Smitty, Georgia Pete, Mama Jack, Fatback, Cat Eye, and I tell y'all no lie. Most of these men met with violent ends, and some of them never got a chance to make amends. So let me run this past y'all one more again. I was born in that city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. Now that goes on, you know what I mean? I don't just want it for the sake of time, but out of that poem came, I was living in the bottom of a hood, man, he didn't make it, knew I could, little raw soldier, shouting about my culture, in a city of real live vultures, young blood try to keep it clean, forced to the streets become dirty mean, living out the scenes of a gangster movie, taught by my father how to walk that smooth beat. These were the days when I could not see, living in a world of fantasy, going to the club at 17, midnight stomping, chasing green, little lost brother, dance with the devil, in a city of lots of trouble, young blood try to keep it clean, forced to the streets become dirty mean, living out the scenes of a gangster movie, taught by my father how to walk that smooth beat. These were the days when I could not see, living in a world of fantasy, cause I was born in the city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. Born in the city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. Born in the city, never sleeps, go for a fortune, play for keeps, little slick youngster, wanna be a punkster, in a world of real live monsters, young blood try to keep it clean, forced to the streets become dirty mean, living out the scenes of a gangster movie, taught by my father how to walk that smooth beat. These were the days when I could not see, living in a world of fantasy, cause I was born in the city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. Born in the city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC. Born in that city by the sea, in a little gangster town called AC.
All right. All
You're
right.
just drawing a lot out of us today.
And you know why I said that?
Beautiful. You're just drawing
Yes,
a lot
she
of
is.
this.
Yes, she is.
Oh, because you have no idea how often I played your CD, and man, I know almost all the words now.
Yeah, that came out of that poem.
Because that reminds me of the
Poem came first, and then the song.
Even that reminds me of just riding the bike on the boardwalk in Atlantic City.
She gave her choice, but I would probably.
Do
I remember.
I
I you know, I just would see the beautiful beach scene, you know, with the shore, the seagulls, and the whole bit, and unknown poet and queen just walking. And the beach scene, and then when we get to those parts of our memories about the hopscotch and the games and all that, just showing kids playing in the inner city and stuff, and kind of transversing between that and the shore scene. So
yes.
Now, isn't it interesting because both of you chose songs dealing with Atlantic City, but the imagery is so different.
we still got sand in our shoes, I guess.
Oh, that beach! Oh
Yeah.
man, that beach
But-
was wonderful.
But but with the little gangster town, the imagery that I got brought me back to my upbringing. Now, I wasn't born in no city. Well, no, let me stop. I was born in the city. I was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
that's a rough.
I was raised for most of my life in Kenilworth, New Jersey.
Okay.
But my grandparents had the bar and restaurant.
Oh,
Okay, it was the
okay.
Black Watering Hole.
Okay.
So all those names you threw out, yeah, you know,
Okay.
that all is right there
Okay.
from my memory too, you know,
Okay,
and the
okay.
whole hub
Yeah.
that I grew up in right there because I lived upstairs in the apartment, you know,
Right.
above, you know.
Cats in the Hood had hooks. They had it was a time when
Fat back.
yeah,
cat
yeah.
eye.
Then the culture thing came, and then you picked up righteous names and so forth and so on, African names. And, But before that, man, I mean, cats had names like Cocaine,
Boy,
Shoot.
Pussy
Poor
Dean.
Boy,
Yep.
Pussy Dean. I mean,
Fat back.
Fat
I remember Mr. Shuby who used
Yeah.
to ride the motorcycle.
Catfish, I mean,
yes.
had a cat named Spider.
Heavy.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know,
That's
so
right.
and you knew these cats even more by those names
That's right.
than the name that
Then
they
they-
might have had the mother name.
That's a fact.
Yeah, they
might
passed
not-
away. You see the obituary. Who they talking about?
Yeah.
You know,
That's-
'cause you-
and you're
I said,
right.
man, that's Spider. That's
That's
Spider.
right,
I never
that's
knew his
right.
name was Harold Smith.
You're right.
But that's some of the way we grew up, and it kind of tells our age, I guess.
Not my age.
But yeah, I always say sometimes give me that old time religion because things have progressively. I don't want to say, but probably regressively, either progress or regress. And this is regress we going into now in the society more than progress. So regressively, but we've gone back in terms of the human condition.
What y'all got to say about what happened down in the Delta?
Oh man,
I
that's
think
a
the creator
catastrophe,
said it.
you know.
I think the creator said it by
Things has
putting
a purpose,
putting
man.
our people putting in the forefront of what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know,
front page.
because you had
Can't get
everybody,
away with it.
you had
From it now.
you had the bureaucracy explaining it to you, but the creator put it right before your eyes.
That's right. I said the government got
Right.
caught with its pants
Yes.
down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the truth.
You can't
was
hoodwink
finally
yourself
put
out of this
on
one.
display. That's right.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's almost like you preparing for some cats with bombs on their backs, some so-called terrorists coming in. And obviously some people are terrorists who kill
yeah.
innocent people, which
Of
I
course.
admit. But then here comes the Almighty Creator, with this hurricane. You know, what I mean, that
Letting you know.
that destroys more than what happened. And God bless the people who died and have and respect for the dead
Yes.
who died in that 911. But here's this big catastrophe. It's not a terrorist. It's not a guy with a bomb on the back. It's not nobody with no political, religious motive. This is the force of nature coming.
Bringing
and
some
just
chastisement
Right.
because
bringing this whole destruction and causing more problems than you could imagine. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And like I said, the war going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, the monies are going out of this country to pay for war and all these international imperialist ventures around the world, and nothing is coming back to the community, and the taxpayers have no right to say where they want their money to go
No.
under the constitutional.
Oh, they're not being called taxpayers.
Yeah.
They're refugees.
Yeah, basically, that's what it seems.
That's a shame, man.
I
And
used
then
to-
how
It's
can
a
you call us
shame.
refugees? You're born here.
You're right,
live
you
here.
know,
Refugee.
you paying
A
taxes
refugee
here.
is from someplace
And
else.
it's almost like we POWs. It's almost like we prisoner of war because most of us, of the Nubian race, are sons and daughters of what have become known as slaves. They were human beings to us, but just say they were put in slavery. Human beings are put in slavery, and we are the sons, grandsons, great granddaughters of these people. And we still POW. We still don't have full rights. And like the Queen says, what got exposed was what was trying to be hid. You know what I mean? That America's this great place, especially for consumption of people around the world. Come to this great place, America, because everybody's living fine and well, and the streets are lined with silver, and everybody's eating, everybody got a job. And the truth of the matter is, it's not that way. Everybody don't have medical benefits.
That's
Everybody
right.
who wants to go to school can't go to school.
That's right.
And everybody who wants a job can't get a job. It just washed it all right before your face now. Again, the blessings and Godspeed and whatever we can do. Like I said, one of the things that I could do is one of the CDs on the CD Baby. I donated because it was asked that if you wanted to, you could. You donate all the profits to the Red Cross. So any profits of any CDs being sold on CDBaby.com.
I was gonna say, push it
Cosmic
now.
Motivation. Cypher 2002,
Yeah.
Journey Begins. Any proceeds, 100% of the proceeds, in fact, of that CD being sold on cdbaby.com goes to the people who've lost so much
Our people, yes.
down in the southern part of the United States.
That's
So
right.
Now, is this something, as far as the hurricane, is this something you can see yourselves writing about and adding to your repertoire?
well, it's life, and we've written so much about the state of the government, the state of affairs in the world, United States. I'm not trying to force nothing to come down. It's almost like we already got stuff there that's almost coming to mind. You know what I mean? Some inspiration may come down, but see, that's the thing about my writing is that I can pick a subject. If I had to write a commercial for a car or water or something like that, or I would like to advertise spring water, some health food or something. I'd probably go somewhere and say, well, I got to write this health for this health bar.
Yeah.
I got to write a little jingle for it. I can go somewhere and probably do that and say, oh, it's a paying job. But when it comes to something as heartfelt and as real as the pain that the people are, I don't want to go nowhere and just come up with a quick thing, a quick song, a quick.
No.
For it. I want it to be one because
It has
I've
to be
said
real.
so. The Queen and I have tears rolled down our eyes a few
Yeah.
times
Yes,
looking
yes.
at the news
Oh,
and
yes.
seeing the orphans and the state of the people. So I want that moment to be that type of moment, and that's when the pen starts moving by itself. You know what I mean? So
Those are the best times to really
Yeah,
capture
Yes.
what
the
it
real
is.
times. The real.
yes.
How do y'all rehearse?
Bathroom, you know, laying
Listen.
down in bed.
Listen, I could be it. Listen.
Listen.
Should we move this along?
No, listen. It could be.
Rehearsal.
It could be what?
Any
2 o'clock in the
circumstance,
morning,
anytime.
and you know
I
I'm
just wanna see if
sleep.
you remember that.
I'm
I want to see if you remember that part.
Sis, I want to see if you remember that piece. What? What the heck? I'm sleeping. What are you talking
And
about?
and I say, if you can remember it now, when you're half sleepy,
You want me sharp, man? and I had to bear witness to the truth. He's right. He's
Really?
right because we have so much
I'm
in
a
our
rough
repertoire,
trainer,
right?
man.
You know,
Wow,
and
I'm telling you.
hey, you know,
And that's
we-
what keeps us sharp. You
Yeah.
know?
I had
And
to
we
agree.
have fun doing it. You know,
Yeah.
we enjoy
Yeah.
doing it.
sometimes
Wow.
I get a little mad at him. I have to say.
I can understand
Yeah.
why.
I get a little mad, you know, and my lips start pouting a little.
Yeah.
Then he knows he
But-
leaves me alone and let me go soak for a minute. Then I come back and I'm ready.
Oh,
She
wow.
understands that
Yeah,
why I'm
yeah,
going.
oh yeah, because I know
I'm
he's
saying, you know, we
he's
go-
sincere.
I'm always saying, it's that time when we're going to be in front of the people.
Yeah,
we
you
got to
know.
be sharp.
And
We
we
don't
got-
want to
and
be
that's true.
faltering and stuttering, uttering,
That's
and muttering.
true.
So,
Yeah.
But you know what? I gotta tell you, I understand both sides of the coin for both of you, though, because I know how precious sleep is. But on the other hand,
Yeah, when you know
shoot,
when
you
gotta
know
prepare
how
yourself
the
for
whole
it.
artistic vibe when
Yes.
things are hitting just right, and
Yes.
you have it on your mind. You want to
Yeah.
make sure things are right.
Yes.
I remember I was getting ready to go to bed. It was what time? It was 11 o'clock at night. All right, and I was preparing to gig behind Sonia Sanchez and Marvin X. Okay,
Okay,
it was one of the
okay.
first things I did after I moved to Philly, and I hooked up with these brothers. Right, brothers called me up. Iyele, what you doing? I said, I'm in my pajamas. I got my tea. I'm ready to go to bed. Iyele, we gonna come get you so we can rehearse. I said, man, it's 11 o'clock. Well, they worked on me, and next thing I knew, I was changing my
Yeah.
clothes.
Oh, praise
You know, but the thing is, by the time, like within 5 minutes, I'm thinking, it'd be kind of cool to rehearse right now.
that's beautiful.
You know, and
That's
so
beautiful.
by 11:30, I was dressed.
Yes.
He was-
Wait, one kept me on the phone. Unbeknownst to me, they had already sent the other one over in the car.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
knowing I was going to say yes.
Beautiful.
I grabbed my drums, my percussions, and then we were rehearsing till like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yes.
And,
And it was beautiful.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
you got to stay sharp. We got to stay sharp.
That's right.
In other words, you gotta spar the way that you will fight. You gotta. I always tell the Queen, no matter even if we're in the bathroom doing this song, I
That's
want to
right.
act like we're doing it for some beautiful people out
That's
there.
right. Mhm. Yeah.
And I want you to give it,
That's
give
right.
it from your heart.
right.
You know, because the way we sparring, the way we doing it in this rehearsal is the way we're gonna deliver it when we deliver it.
That's the truth.
Every time,
Yeah.
let's deliver it
Because
sincerely.
sometimes,
Even if it's just me
I'll
and you
be
singing a song.
I'll be doing it lackadaisical. I have to admit.
Just to
And
get
then,
it over
then,
with.
then he reminds me, you got to perform right here like you perform in front of your people. You did. That's how you
Make
have to do
every
it.
moment
Make every moment
sincere.
like yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And
Let
then we
sincerity
get
be
to-
a
then she
condition and not your
goes-
adopted position.
And
You
then
know?
she gets into it.
Then I
and
get
we
revved up
enjoy
and
it,
I'm
and
ready.
we flowing. I
Yeah,
mean, we
yes.
kicking it and we rocking it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just the two of us.
And then I don't want to stop,
and
and
we
he's ready to
entertaining
stop.
each other. So that's the genesis of our
Yeah.
how we remember, and we constantly rehearse every day.
Yeah.
Queen just recently lost her job. She's been working 2 years for
Oh, for real?
Meditran, you
Yeah, I
know.
used to ride for an ambulance service, not an ambulance service, a medi service, a
Yeah.
transportation service.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come home and he would say, "Let's practice." Huh? Oh, man, I'm tired. What? What?
When I had
I've been
her
working
at-
12 hours a day.
Yeah.
What?